Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be doing a really simple background called ghosted background, or I call it ghosting background. It's a background I do quite often in my art journals when I'm not sure what to do. It's a great way, particularly if you've got some stencils that you don't know what to do, to create an easy background. Now it's a very, very busy background. I like busy backgrounds. For some people it might be a bit overwhelming, but you can always calm it down by then stenciling over with whites and so on in the background. I'm just going in and creating a background, so to speak, with Torn College tissue papers. These are the new Dina Wakley winged tissue set. I just tore up random pages and popped them on because while I liked the images, I just basically wanted as a little bit of something in the background. I then am going in with some cheddar paint, and I actually ended up putting a little bit more paint out than I would usually do, and it ended up covering the page. So I grabbed my wet wipe and a stencil. This one's called Floor, and wiped away the excess. Now this worked in this instance because I had glued down those pieces with gel medium in the background. The gel medium seals the papers, which is why I've got some of that white coming through when I rubbed away the paint. So anywhere that wasn't sealed, that stayed quite yellow. Anywhere that was sealed, I was able to get the white away. Once that layer had dried, I'm going in with another layer of paint. This is the blue layer. And again, where it's wet, I was able to rub it away, and I can see that yellow coming through. So you get this build-up effect. You can see the texture, but you can see the layers previously coming through. The final layer that I'm going to put on is some red, and again, I'm putting on the paint fast. It's quite thin, but you need to do this while it's still wet. You can't wait around too long. It has to be wet so you can rub it away. And again, you can see me with my wet wipe rubbing away the final paint. So you get a really, really clear impression. I can still see those other layers. I can still see the tissue. I can still see the yellow. I can see the blue, and I can see the red. The big thing about using this technique is you need to make sure your layers are dried before you add the next layer of paint. So to remove the paint, it needs to be wet. When you've removed the paint, let it dry. Then you can add your next layer. Obviously you can dry it naturally. That's going to take you a little bit longer, or you can do as I did and use a hairdryer or a heat gun to do that. To finish off my page, I'm using some of these new transparencies from Dina Wakley, and I've just trimmed off a side bit. Now I wasn't 100% sure how this would end up working, because I didn't cut away much of the excess. And for those of you who've seen my channel before, when I've used tissue papers, I tend to cut really closely or fussy cut out my images so I don't get a halo. I knew I wouldn't get a halo as much with a transparency, but I wasn't sure how it was going to blend into my page in the end, but I was actually really pleased with how it worked out. I'm just going in though with a white paint pen, Posca paint pen, and adding some details on the underside of my page, of the transparency. And the reason I'm doing that is twofold. One, it helps add a little bit of detail to my image. It helps, particularly with eyes and so on, helps you focus, and it also pushes it out from the background. Because that is such a busy background that I've got, if I had just left it as is, those fine lines would have really blended into the page a little bit too much, and you may not have actually noticed there were some faces on this page. By adding that little bit of white, it gives you an idea that there is actually something there that you need to go and have a look at. I didn't want them to be in your face. I wanted them to be sort of subtle in the background, but I also wanted them to, there is actually something there. So I glued the transparency down on my page by putting a layer of gel medium underneath. I then put a little bit of gel medium over the top, and the reason I did that is because you can see on the other side where the light's hitting it, it's very glossy. That's also transparency, Whereas on the left hand side where I've been working, there's no glare, and the reason for that is putting the gel medium over the top. So if the glare really bothers you, put a little bit of gel medium over the top, a really fine coat. You don't need much, and that will help take the glare away a little bit. To finish off my page, I want to really focus on a quote for this page rather than have a focal image like the other page. So these are sort of two contrasting pages, so to speak. And the quote I chose is, "Beauty's not in the face, beauty is a light in the heart." So the fact I had sort of those bright, warm, light colours coming through and those faces hidden, I wanted to choose a quote that represented that imagery in my journal. Quite often when I'm looking for quotes, I will go to Pinterest and put in a keyword. So for this, I looked for face quotes, and that there was a few two-sided face quotes that I didn't want. I didn't want to go down the snarky route with this page, and this one sort of fitted in really well. So once I've finished writing out my words, I'm just going in with a black pen to help frame my words and fonts and push them out from the background, which you can see. You can see here how that transparency sort of blends into the page on the ghosted background. I can still see all those layers, which is, for me, is really important. If you've done the layers, you want to be able to see them in the final piece. So hopefully you have a go at doing a ghosted background. They're really simple. It's a great technique to have up your sleeve when you're playing around with things. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.